Hello everyone, we are back. Welcome again to our AI Tech Talk Live by Robometrics Machine and Skive. Quick reminder, we are building machines that feel, ranging from use cases in healthcare, aerospace, autonomous car and space exploration. And yes, we are definitely hiring, so please reach out. Today's topic is something that's personal to me because I've been an artist and a photographer for a long time as an amateur. I went to and took some classes at art school as well when I was at Brown, and I cross-registered to take classes at RISD. So I've done this for a long time, but in parallel, I've also been involved in computer science, as you all know. So today's topic will cover intersection of these two areas: artificial intelligence and art and photography. So we have 3 questions so far that came out, and we'll cover that. Our first question is a digital print an art piece? And that goes to the fundamental of what art is, who can actually create the art. A digital print can definitely be considered art if it's something unique, but at the same time, traditionally the definition of art has been something that cannot be replicated. It's one in a kind. More recently, in the last 5 to 8 years, that has not been the case with digital photography or even digital prints. Some of them could actually be unique. A very simple example, I remember my days at Rhode Island School of Design taking the color photography class, where I was spending close to 5 to 6 hours just printing one analog print in a color darkroom. Actually, if you look right on my back, this print was done by me. So this was through a normal Canon A1 analog camera, and then I actually printed this color print using that manual machinery in a color darkroom. There is no piece of digital involved in that. And this was close to a decade back, and that, as you can see, it's still in pristine condition. And this is printed on a Fuji paper. And it took me 5 hours because you need to adjust each colors manually by shifting the lenses in and through other instruments. Yes, you can say that this is analog print. I could have printed more of these, and that's why it could still be replicated. But I think the fact is, even if I would have done that, each print would be unique. You cannot actually have a copy. In the same way, a digital print to some extent may entail a lot of working, where you're spending time crafting a specific digital print, or even creating a digital print from the beginning, creating an art right from the beginning. And that, in that sense, digital print is an art piece. But on the other side, it's very easy to replicate a digital print, and that's one of the reasons why I sometimes will not say that digital print is actually art. Okay, our second question is, can AI create art? So we talked about human creating art, whether it's a real art or art that could be replicated. This question is about, can AI actually create an art? And that again goes back to the whole thesis of what art means. Can a machine create art? Can a software program create an art? That also digs deeper into, if AI creates an art, who owns it? But that's a different topic, and probably we want to consider that next time. But my answer is that to some extent AI can create an art, because if you just think about it, on our first question, can a digital print be art? in a digital print, you're using sophisticated software tools to create that art piece. Assuming you are with me that in some cases that digital print can be an art. In the same sense, you may use some AI techniques to make your image better, to make it more smoother, you to maybe change the colors, to make it to adjust the lighting. And a lot of these tools are AI-based software tools. So in some extent, to some extent, what we're doing on our iPhone, where we adjust the colors or make our photos 3D on our iPhone, that is done through artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is creating some sort of art. Now, it's to some extent under our control, but we could imagine a scenario where you have a AI or a machine learning algorithm that is very specifically built to create art, where it's programmed in such a way where what exactly it needs to create is not very well defined. It has certain conditions that you need to use these and these colors. It also has some sort of memories that it could use and some directions on what it should create. And if we think about that, and if we do go with the fact that it doesn't really matter if an art could be replicated still in art, then AI could definitely create an art. Our last question for today is digital photography art? It relates to our first question about digital prints. And as I believe here we are talking more about the photography as a discipline that existed in the past versus how it is mostly today. And that again goes back to about the print that's right on my back. And let me tell you a little bit more about this. So this was done as part of my art school class on color photography. And what I did was I got one of my female friends who was a model to model for me. I took the photograph. I got the negative developed, and then I went to a darkroom to build it, to actually spend 5 hours taking that negative to print that photograph. That's how photography was 10 years back, and to some extent today also. This kind of quality you cannot get from a digital print. Photography as it exists today is more with how you take the photograph, A, and B, secondly, how you print it. On the printing side, you can say that irrespective of how you took the photograph, whether you're using a DSLR or a SSLR or even an iPhone, you are able to capture something unique. And there's skills needed to also operate an iPhone. It's not that easy to take something really interesting, something really cool, even through an iPhone. So there's some skills involved there. But although the skills is to some extent minimal, and what all you can do with an iPhone, for example, is limited to. And those limitations goes away when you're talking about digital SLR. That's one aspect. So there's one difference between what used to happen in the past and it's now. That what's used to happen if you're using a Nikon SLR camera or a Canon SLR camera or Canon A1 is you will actually have analog film. So you have 30 or 40 negatives you can take. So you can take 40 photographs in one go, and you cannot just delete it. It's there, and then you will actually go to a photography shop and actually get it developed. So that aspect of scarcity is no longer the case in digital photography. And in my opinion, that aspect is important. When you're clicking that button, it's very easy to click that button, but what happens after that is important. So in an iPhone, you can take 10 photographs and delete 9. same as in digital SLR camera. So although digital photography can be considered art, but it is not at the same skill level. The skill level that's needed to operate and use an analog camera is much way higher. And obviously, if you're used to using that analog camera, you will be definitely better in taking normal photography, because ultimately it's not about the equipment, it's not about the technology, it's really about us human being, how we try to use this technology to come up with something unique and novel. And you can do it through a DSLR, you can do it through a SSLR. To sum up all these questions, I believe AI can create art. I also believe digital photography is something that can create art. It is a discipline that will mature much more, but I also see the other side where analog photography coming back in. And, it shouldn't be a surprise why that photograph from a decade back was sitting unattended, and I decided to put it back up just last week. That's all for today, folks. We will try to cover topics like these next week as well. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And again, we are Robometrics Machine. We're building machines that feel, ranging from healthcare to aerospace use case. Thanks, and I will talk to you next week.